Oh boy, here we go. My first RPG review, and I've chosen a Final Fantasy game. I've had some hesitations about doing this review since it's such a beloved series, and it can be a scary proposition to tell a legion of adoring fans your honest thoughts on their favorite game. Will everybody hate me if I hate it? Admittedly, I don't have a ton of experience with the Final Fantasy series, as I've only played through a handful of them. I'd like to note that this was my first time I'd ever played through Final Fantasy 2/4, and these are my impressions as a first-time player, so go easy on me if I miss a plot point or two or misinterpret a story element. Also, I'll be referring to it as Final Fantasy 2 for the rest of the video, since that's what it says on my copy of the game. This review will contain spoilers, so consider this your opportunity to duck out if you'd like to discover the story on your own. Well, fortune favors the bold, as they say, so let's dive right in. Final Fantasy II begins with Cecil, the Dark Knight and leader of the elite Red Wings, obtaining crystals for the King of Baron. Cecil begins to question the king's motives, and this kicks off a journey of personal redemption and a quest to stop Golbez, a totally heinous dude who seems bent on world domination by acquiring these crystals. Cecil will meet up with lots of characters who aid him in his quest, including Tella, a wise and powerful wizard, Edward, the cowardly bard, and Palom and Porom, who are twin magical prodigies. They also happen to be 5 years old. Each of your companions offers some unique abilities, like Yang, who is a karate master and can kick all of the enemies on the screen, or Edge, the ninja prince of Eblan, who can steal from enemies, throw weapons, and use ninjutsu magic. Your allies in Final Fantasy II are all too willing to nobly sacrifice themselves for the cause, and do so with alarming frequency. What's even more alarming is that most of them actually survive their sacrifice, and it happens so often that I kinda stopped believing that they were actually dead. It's like watching a TV show or a movie where you just know the main character won't really die even if they're in dire peril. Some of their sacrifices didn't even make sense to me, like when Yang stops the super cannon. Like, how did he stop it? He's a shirtless karate master, not some kind of technical genius hacking the mainframe. Did he stick his fingers in the barrel like in a cartoon? The battles in Final Fantasy II play out in a fashion that's typical for Final Fantasy games of this era. Each of your characters has to wait for their turn to perform the action of your choice, but the interesting wrinkle is that the enemies don't wait around for you. If you take too long, the enemies will happily keep wailing away on you while you're deciding what to do, which adds a sense of urgency to choosing your actions. I really enjoyed the boss fights in Final Fantasy II, as they all seemed to have some kind of weakness or a gimmick, and it was like solving a puzzle, figuring out how to defeat them. I've heard that there are many different translations available for Final Fantasy II, and I had folks asking which version I was playing, and it's simply the SNES Final Fantasy II version. I mention this because the dialogue made me laugh on several occasions because it was silly or corny or just a bad translation. I don't mean that as a criticism either, as it added to the game's charm, but it did occasionally take away from the seriousness of the story. The story itself kind of went off the rails to me once they started talking about going to the moon, but I still enjoyed it overall. I would be doing a disservice here if I didn't mention the music in Final Fantasy II. It's fantastic. The airship music, the battle music, the boss music, they're all spectacular and complement the game's nice-looking visuals quite well. There is so much more amazing music that I regretfully don't have time to share with you, but I do recommend finding a playlist to have a listen for yourself, or simply play through the game like I did. The only song I didn't like was this one, When You're on the Moon, which has sections which sound like someone rubbing a wet balloon. It's a challenge taking a game as enormous as Final Fantasy II and summarizing it in only a few paragraphs. It took me about 25 hours to complete the game. I feel like when you're talking about and comparing older Final Fantasy games, you're really comparing the stories, since most of them have similar gameplay systems. I think as a Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy II was good, but it wasn't my favorite Final Fantasy game ever or anything. However, However, for the purposes of this review, I'm going to judge Final Fantasy II based on its own merits, without comparing it to other Final Fantasy games, and to that end, in summary, I thought the graphics were very nice, the music was, as I said, fantastic, and while the story and dialogue became a bit silly and hard to believe, I think that Final Fantasy II's charm more than made up for it, and I give it a light-hearted 4 out of 5. I've heard that there are several and I had folks asking which version I was playing, and it's simply the